All right, welcome back to the show. I'm Mike.
I'm Maggie. We are Friends on Fire.
And we're on a mission to get friends to talk about money. So we were talking in our previous episode about what is FIRE. And so I think it'd be good to jump into the first pillar, which is spending less. And kind of...
I got a really good spending less story just to kick us off, just to set the tone.
I don't think I can stop you.
Okay. So when it reminded me because there's something I'm about to do related to this. So when I first met my husband, I found out that he used a flowbee to cut his hair. Do you know what that is?
I'm pretty sure this is like a little vacuum thing that sucks up your hair.
Well, it's an attachment. It doesn't come with a vacuum. It's an attachment you buy. It hooks up to any vacuum, and it only works for guys' hair. It's gotta be or someone with really short hair, and it basically sucks it into this thing that like cuts your hair a certain length. Anyways, I kind of judged him a little bit. I was like, really? That's how you cut your hair? Like, why don't you go to like a haircut place and, even like Great Clips. I used to get my hair cut at Great Clips.
I still get my hair cut
I know
at
you
Great
do.
Clips.
You always get those $7.99 coupons.
I only go when I get a coupon in the mail.
I think it's a coupon, but whatever.
What did I say?
You said coupon, which is probably how 90% of people say it. But
and what did you say?
I said coupon, but it didn't sound right. I usually say coupon.
Coupon.
I know. Well, okay, that's not my point of the story. So I kind of judged him a little bit. He kept doing it for a while. It was fine. He looked fine. But at some point, I started going to someone in the neighborhood, and as we ended up moving into each other, we did not move into each other.
You moved in with each other.
Well, okay, we'll keep moving. So I started getting my hair cut at this little like salon in our neighborhood, and there's like this girl Lauren who cuts our hair, who we love. And he at some point decided to start going to her. And now his haircuts are like $50 or $60, which Mike was like appalled when he heard that because he's seen our monthly finances.
Yeah, and your haircuts don't look that great.
Well, to be clear, my haircut costs like 3 times that because I get it highlighted.
And I wouldn't even notice.
You would, but because you haven't seen it the other way. I'll show you some old pics. But his hair, he gets these haircuts, and he's a dude, so like dudes get their haircuts way more often than girls do. I think like he gets his haircut like every 4 or 5 weeks. I feel like. And so it starts to add up. Like we added it up, and I was like, "You're spending like $700 a year on haircuts,"
which is outrageous.
It's a little bit high. I mean, it's not like he needs like a special type of haircut. Anyways, the point is, recently I was like, "Where's that old flowbee that I used to judge you for?" Because I feel like you should bust that thing out. I just didn't. It kind of snuck up on me, like how often he gets his haircut and how much it costs and all that. And he was a little apprehensive at first because I think it is a nice experience going to get your hair cut by someone else.
Also because you spent apparently years judging and criticizing him.
I didn't criticize him. I just like secretly, I never outwardly judged him. I just in my head was like, do I really want to date a guy who cuts his hair with a flowbee? Luckily, he won me over with many other lovely qualities. But I recently, now that I've been a little bit more on a kick of like, honestly, not just saving money, but just paying attention to where my money's going. Like stuff adds up that I was not even noticing. So we had the flowbee kind of like in storage in this like storage room we have in our house. And I got it out. He recently kind of like cleaned it up and was like, I'm going to see if it still works. And it took him a couple like months for me to like work on him to the idea of like, let's try the flowbee and I can help cut the back part that's hard for you to get to. And so this afternoon, you could stay if you'd like, Mike, but we're going to flowbee his hair and see how it goes because it's been a few years.
I kind of want to stay and watch this.
Yeah. We'll get like an Instagram photo or video for our Instagram handle.
I'm sure people want to see this.
I'm sure they want to see Greg getting his hair flowbeed. We've not actually told him that I'm going to want to videotape it, but he's a good sport, so I'm sure he'll do it.
Yeah, he'll support your passion project.
Yeah. My favorite part is the flowbee actually matches our vacuum. They're both yellow and black, so
it's an important quality.
Yeah, it is. Okay, moving on. What were we talking about? So saving money?
Yeah. So back to the topic of this show. So
that was totally on topic. That is going to save us like $600 a year, but keep going.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't think people are going to like tune into the show to listen to 30 minutes about you talking about flowbees, right?
Yeah, we'll find out.
Yeah, maybe that's what the show will become.
To each his own, Yeah. Some people love hearing people talk about flowbees.
Yeah.
podcast is brought to you by Flowbee.
Does Flowbee still make these things?
Yeah, they do. I looked online recently.
It's still a real company?
It is, but there's like a lot on eBay. Like I'm not sure how many they're selling like direct to consumer. We'll have to follow. If anybody knows, please call our phone number and let us know what's happening with Flowbee these days. 404-981-3370. We'd love to hear what's up with Flowbee.
And if you work for Flowbee and want to send me a Flowbee, I will use it.
Yeah, and we'll read ads for you on air too.
Yeah.
Yeah, go for it. Okay, keep going.
All right, so...
Can you use another guy's Flowbee? Is that like weird? Because you could borrow ours. I could Flowbee your hair after this also if you want.
Let me see how it works on Greg.
Okay,
so back to the meat of this podcast. So first pillar of the 3, which we've outlined, is spending less, followed by growing wealth, and then finding freedom. And I think the first thing that is really important to understand about spending less in my mind is that it's not just about doing all the same things that you do, but saving a little bit of money. Like there is a ton of information out there that says, continue to go to that restaurant that you go to every weekend, but here's how you save a few dollars. It's not about that. It's about finding a different lifestyle that costs you less money and finding the level of sustained happiness that can, carry you for the rest of your life. And so when we talk about spending less, it's really talking about making a lifestyle change to consume less, to spend less money, to do things differently.
To have more freedom ultimately. Yeah, I think that's a great point. And I think another point related to that is, to me, it is not about deprivation. And I think a lot of people think that saving money means they have to deprive themselves of something that they deserve or should have, or like, I work hard for this, so I should be able to treat myself to a cup of Starbucks every morning. And we'll get into, more thoughts on that. But it isn't about deprivation. It's about realizing you actually can be really happy and still spend less in your life.
And I think there's some value in kind of the minimalist concepts that you really subscribe to. It's if you are going through your day, making dozens of transactions, buying all these things, subscribing to different services, I would say that the complexity of that lifestyle is not providing you the most happiness. Like finding the few things that you're really passionate about and spending money on those things and not worrying about everything else simplifies your life to a point where I think you are happier. And so you can find both. You can spend less and be happier than you are right now.
Yeah, I think that's very true. And you and I have talked about this a lot, Mike, but I do still spend money on many things, and many things, quite honestly, that you would never choose to spend money on, but they're things that are important to me. And I think that is a personal decision that everyone should think about, which is, what are the categories of things that are particularly important to you? It could be a hobby. It could be that you're really into food or certain types of coffee or wine or whatever it might be. But it doesn't need to be everything. It doesn't need to be that you all day long are splurging and spending money that you don't have across every single category of your life. It ideally is really focused on thinking about what's most important to you and making sure that your financial decisions are aligned to that.
Yeah, that's a great point. I think sometimes when you and I talk to people about spending, they look at certain aspects of our life. Like they look at my car, which is, a piece of junk. I love it, but it's a piece of junk.
Yeah,
and
I'm pretty sure the neighbors have probably already called the police and complained that there's an abandoned vehicle out front my house.
Yeah, it won't surprise me.
It's not that bad.
So people probably look at my car and they'd be like, I would be absolutely miserable and mortified to drive a car like that. I can't possibly save money or subscribe to this lifestyle. And that's not really it. Like if you want to drive like a little bit nicer car than a 2003 Ford Explorer, that's fine. But, it's finding all those things that don't add any value to your life.
Yeah, it's a trade-off.
And cutting them out.
Yeah, because you could afford a much nicer car.
Mm-hmm.
And so can I. And I have a nicer car than you. But I wasn't saying that in bragging. I was just saying there's different categories. Like I've got I think it's a 2016 Prius. But my husband drives a 2011 Prius. And we will drive them for a long time, right? So every car I've had for 8 or 9 years. Now you prescribe to the 15-year plus car plan.
Yeah, I want to drive my car until it bursts into flames and I just leave it on the side of the highway.
I love it.
I want to drive it until it has zero residual value.
Yeah, I like it. I want you to keep going with I want to drive it until it do you let your kids driving that car? Is that safe?
It's like a tank.
I know, I'm just kidding. Okay. So I think we should we talk about like what we spend our money on and what we don't spend our money on?
Sure. I think it's important to talk about how we view those categories, though. And this is something that in my book I really focused on. I call core spending priorities. It's like identify the 5 things that are really important to you, and that's what you spend your money on. And it doesn't mean you spend frivolously. You still have to scrutinize those expenses, but you don't feel bad about it. But then everything else, like you should really feel guilty about spending money on those things that don't bring you a lot of passion and joy in your life. So what would you say are your kind of core passion priorities?
Honestly, I've not given this a lot of thought in prep for you asking me that. So I'm really going off the cuff here, but I like eating good food, but to clarify, I don't mean like fancy food at nice restaurants. I mean like my husband and I are both vegan, our kids are vegetarian, and I don't buy everything organic, but like I like buying good quality food. I think it's one of like we're putting that into our bodies, and it is something I'm willing to spend money on. So I don't really sort of like, I'm less frugal in that area. But on the flip side, I never waste food, right? Like I freeze anything that is about to go bad, like fruit, I freeze it, I put it in smoothies. Like I just hate wasting things. Like I go to ridiculous lengths to not waste things. I will make my kids like finish food. I will make them eat. They'll want something. And I'm like, well, you can't eat that because this is about to go bad. You have to eat that first. And like, they get it. They know they know which flavors of yogurt they have to eat first because they check the dates and stuff. It's like I can do both, right? So food is important. Back to this, you're never going to get a quick answer from me on. I think you wanted like my top 5 categories, but
let's do 2.
You're gonna get my life story. So that's one category, food. We don't really like we like to eat out sometimes, but like we don't eat out at super expensive restaurants.
Let me help you out here.
What are yours?
I think yours is travel.
Actually, that's probably my number 1.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I'm going to help you.
What do you think my top categories are?
Ooh, that's a good question.
You've seen my monthly expenses and my like annual budget, so.
Yeah. So what jumps out is travel.
Mm-hmm. And I don't do a lot of travel hacking. I sort of I'm like baller style when I travel sometimes.
But you're not like over the top luxury travel. You're not a deal seeker. You find a place you want to go and you just go.
Yeah.
So travel is definitely one of yours. Food, definitely one of yours. Outdoors and being active and healthy. So like running, biking, hiking, that sort of stuff. And then I'm not sure. I would guess maybe health and education and things like that.
Yeah, but I don't spend a lot of money on those things. Like our kids go to public school. So education is important to me.
But you'll pay for their college, right?
I will pay for a portion of their college, probably. I think it depends what kind of students they are. And it depends, like my parents didn't pay for, this is a longer topic. We'll do it.
I'm sorry.
You shouldn't even open the door.
No, this was a terrible idea.
We'll talk about, I do have like, yes, we put a lot in our kids' college savings. We actually, we just decided to kind of fully fund them up front instead of putting in like slow monthly amounts. Mm-hmm. So yeah, we pre-funded their colleges and hopefully they'll have a nice, chunk towards college when they get to that age.
So with these priorities, and you and I have pretty similar areas. We both love travel. We both eat healthy. We like being active and doing interesting things. But
there's one I missed. Are you going to lose your train of thought if I give you one more category?
No, go for it.
I'd say like electronics. So like we do sometimes like some of the like latest gadgets. We don't have to have like the newest iPhone when it comes out, but like my husband does upgrade his phone every couple years. He uses it every day. He loves it. It's, adds value to his life daily. So we often have more modern electronics that we just bought a new Apple TV because my husband wanted the 4K one. But we don't spend money on so many other things that make up for stuff like that.
But would you consider that one of your core spending priorities, electronics?
No, maybe not.
When we just did
our monthly budget review last month, 36% of my expenses were travel related. 10% of them were, I think, groceries. 8% was electronics. So,
wow,
there's that. But it was also some like things that I might buy once every 2 years that happened to hit last month.
You know what? I think
let's get back
I
to
did
this.
lose my train of thought after that
You
random
probably
story.
had a good thought. Sorry.
It probably was. I was trying to wrap this up. So core spending priorities. And once you find these and you kind of know how much it takes, like, you know how you like to travel and where you want to go and how much it's going to cost you, like, that is your ideal level of spending. That's where you can find happiness and have it sustained throughout your life. And I think the problem people have is that they always want a little bit more. They always want a little bit nicer car. They always want a little bit bigger house. They want a little bit nicer clothes, and they keep spending
Inflating.
more and more and inflating, and this lifestyle inflation. But it's like the horizon. If, like, you're not happy now, if you haven't found it, if you haven't actively been trying to find that point of happiness, you'll never reach it. It will always just be out in the distance, and you'll continue to spend and spend all of your income until the point you realize you're 70 and you're like, I made a big mistake. This doesn't make me happy.
Yeah.
I want to go do something different.
Yeah, no, I think the idea of lifestyle inflation is critical, and it is one of the areas that we'll talk more about investing, and, like, that's not been an area I've been good about over the years, and we'll get into that more on the idea of kind of growing wealth. We'll get into that when we talk about growing wealth. But one thing I've been really good about over the past 10 years is, as my income has increased, I have not inflated my lifestyle. Yes, maybe travel is the one area where I have, like, splurged on travel, but I've not driven any nicer cars. I've not, spent more than I would have spent on clothing 10 years ago. And I think that's a huge thing that has allowed me to spend less. The other thing that I think is super helpful in the spending less category, and we've talked about this a little bit briefly, is just the idea that it's just the concept of tracking your spending. So I equate it to every now and then when people will use, like, calorie tracking apps. Like, I've done it every now and then, and you all of a sudden realize how much you're consuming, and you're like, whoa, like, I wouldn't have eaten that much if I had realized there were, like, that many calories in something or whatever it was. But the idea of tracking your spending, though I thought I had been pretty frugal over the years, I really wasn't, like, meticulously looking at where my money was going. And so I started that process and again, I've done some versions of this off and on over the years, but, like, 3 months ago when Mike and I started having some of these discussions, he kind of challenged me to track my expenses for a month. And he was like, let's review it at the end of the month. And he was like, let's both review ours and show it to each other. And so when I started doing that, it was incredibly telling, and it made me, like, much more conscious, and it made me spend less.
I think people are generally surprised when they have to start documenting all their expenses, and they look at it and be like, I cannot believe I spent that many hundreds of dollars on, this activity or dining out or whatever it was.
Yeah.
And, this is something that I've been doing, like, very meticulously for a number of years, because it's sort of what I do professionally. Like, I have a very corporate finance approach to tracking all of my expenses and going back and checking my forecast to see if it was accurate, going and finding efficiencies in some of my behavior and some of my expenditures. And that discipline, I think, is really important for people, because if you have the discipline to go in and write down every single thing you spend money on, then you're definitely going to have the discipline to make a change in your life. But if you don't have the discipline to, like, look at your expenses or think about it, you're definitely not going to be able to change your behavior. And so the first step is to really track your expenses and get into the mindset that this is something I want to measure and improve.
I think, actually, I hear so many people say, when we're talking about comments like this, just casually make comments about sort of like, life's short, or I work hard and I deserve this, or, things around those lines. And I get it. I have done that many times, and it is how I have excused many expenses. It's still how I excuse my yard service, for what it's worth, which Mike frequently comments about when he looks at my expenses. But I actually think the opposite sometimes. So 2 thoughts on this. One, I've actually found I wrote about this on my blog recently, but a little bit of, like, a high feeling from not spending money. The more I save money on certain things, like, I feel really good about it, and it, like, makes me happy. And it actually, I think, makes me happier because I know it's pushing me more towards my long-term goals. And I also I find a lot of pleasure and value from doing things myself. So I think I recently told you I got up on my roof to against my husband's advice. I got up on my roof to blow off the roof and clean out the gutters. And we usually have a gutter cleaning service. And I was like, oh, they charge like $150 and I could do this. And I wanted to do it. It was like a beautiful day and the kids were out playing and I was just like, this will be fun. I'll clean off the roof. And then I did it and it took me an hour and a half, maybe almost 2 hours for the whole thing. And my husband was helping he was doing different parts of it, but I lose my train of thought during these stories. But my point is, what was funny is once I finished it, I felt good about it and I enjoyed the feeling from it. I did then go and look and see what it cost us to get our gutters cleaned. And I thought it was like $150 a time, but it was more like $60 or $70. And I was like, oh, well, I don't know. For $60, I'm not sure it was worth it. But point is, it feels good to do things yourself and know that like I am capable and I can do these things. And at least it feels good to me.
So I need to tell you something, Maggie.
Yeah.
So I DIY everything.
Yes.
And I'm really proud of that fact. But when you told me you went up on your roof, I was thinking, this woman is crazy because I will never go on my roof. It is extremely dangerous.
Do we have different shaped roofs and houses though? Because mine's not. Do you think mine is dangerous? There's some roofs I would not get on. I
just don't think I'd get on a roof, period. It seems like an unnecessary risk.
I'm a very cautious person. Like except for that whole falling story. I'm a very cautious person. So I was very confident that like, I'm not just going to like slip and fall off the edge of the roof. My kids were standing down on the driveway and they kept saying, are you going to fall and die? And I was like, no, if I fall, I'll probably just break a leg. I won't die. The other point, which I am shocked I remember, is I have found, and again, this might just be me personally, but I have actually found an inverse relationship between work stress and spending money. So the more stressed I am at work, the more I'm actually motivated to spend less money and happy by the idea that I know I'm spending less money because I know that I could walk away from this at any point and I'm not chained to having to have a certain type of job to maintain my lifestyle. Today, we want to have honest discussions on this podcast. So I'll be very honest. I could walk away from my job today and be okay. Probably forever because I have a low cost of living. I've paid off my house. I've funded my kids' college, etc. But I forgot my butt.
I feel like you're going to make a really powerful statement and you just completely forgot. Let me jump in for you. I feel the same way. When times are really stressful, I think a lot of people will spend money and try to fill that void or handle that stress with spending. And
totally,
when you kind of adopt a FIRE mindset, saving money gives you that same benefit because you get a little bit closer to never having to deal with this again.
Yes, I think you are totally right. And that's why I say I think there's this inverse relationship where a lot of people, their go-to when they're stressed is to spend more money and say, oh, well, that's why I have to have someone professionally clean my house. I don't have time, whatever. But I actually think the more I save and the more I'm able to simplify my lifestyle, the more I am not stressed about work because I know I don't need it. I can do it on my terms in a way that I feel good about and not compromise myself. And I go there every day because I want to, not because I have to. And that is the idea of financial freedom. And that, again, back to the point of this whole talk, that is one of the pieces of getting to FIRE, and spending less is one of the elements of getting to that financial freedom. There's other pieces of it, but that's probably one of the most critical pieces, is being able to control your spending and kind of know where your money's going and spend less.
You and I, we are obsessed with FIRE, but we are not retired yet. We're still working, but it's a little bit different. We have a little bit different relationship with work than I think other people do because we like to be there. And I think I would be upset if I lost my job because I like it and I like earning money and I feel fulfilled with what I'm doing during the day. But if I lost my job, I would not need to go find another job immediately or perhaps ever. And that really changes.
Freeing.
Yeah, it changes the way that you think about situations in your professional life.
I also think it gives you a level of happiness that money can't buy. Right. And ironically, actually, money can buy, because it's the money that is sitting in the bank that gives you that happiness.
Right. It's the exact opposite of what you said. It's the happiness that having so much money can actually buy.
Okay. In the bank.
Yes.
To save for the future.
Right.
Yes.
Okay. I'm glad we settled
exactly. So money can buy happiness.
Money can buy happiness because it buys you the freedom not to need it anymore.
Yes, but going to Target or TJ Maxx or pick your store of choice to go buy, the third set of seasonal pillows for your couch, that does not buy happiness.
We'll work on this.
Unless pillows are your priority.
I don't think anybody's priority is pillows.
I know some people where pillows is their priority. Seasonal decor for their home might be your priority. More power to you.
Fair enough.
I don't want to judge.
If somebody listening, if that is their core spending priority, seasonal decorations for their house, please call in. We definitely want to hear from you.
Yeah. I think we're going to shift to our segment that I made up that's called Mike's Minute on the Mic. So again, this is where I ask Mike a surprise question. He has no idea what it's going to be, and he has 60 seconds to answer it.
Again, seriously, I got nervous.
I know. Okay, here's my question. It's a little bit timely because this just recently passed here.
Okay.
This is a multi-part question, so there's kind of like 3 questions, but they're all related.
Okay.
So don't worry. Give it a second. Let me get my timer going here. Hold on. Got 60 seconds. Okay, Mike, have you ever partaken in Black Friday? Do you know what that is? And how do you feel about it?
Okay. I personally love Black Friday, and me and my family, we go out every Friday morning. We go to Target, we get Starbucks, and then we go shopping for like part of the morning. I love it. I think it is horrible for society, but I do appreciate the opportunity to capitalize on companies' need to get revenue in that period, and
to meet their year-end revenue goals.
Yeah, and so I will do research, and I will postpone purchases for an entire year just so that I could go take advantage of some company that's providing some deal. So I would have bought it anyway, but I will wait until it's 70% off, and then I'll feel good knowing that they made as little money on me as possible. So I maybe spend $100 per Black Friday, but I definitely partake.
Okay, first off, your timing is impeccable because I was about 53 seconds and I only had one interjection this time, which I was really trying to not talk.
You're getting better at my segment.
Yeah, I'm getting better at not talking during your segment. So thank you. First off, I was super surprised because I did not know that you actually partake in it and like make it a little bit of a family event. You're super disciplined though, so it seems like you're actually gaming Black Friday.
Oh yeah.
Maybe next time I'll ask you your thoughts on Cyber Monday. Wait for it. I know the suspense will kill our audience. So thanks, Mike. I think we're gonna kind of close this episode out now.
All right. So few just housekeeping items. If you have any questions or comments, as always, give us a call at 404-981-3370. Leave us a question, comment, tip. We'll read it on the air, and we really do want to hear from you.
And also, please leave us a review on iTunes or wherever you're listening to this podcast. Really helps us get the word out, and we would love to hear from you. It's been a great discussion. Next week, we will talk about the next pillar of fire.
Growing wealth.
Okay, very exciting. Thank you so much. Thanks, Mike.
Thanks, Maggie.
Bye.
Bye.